Tuatahi akera katautukua ke ngā puhi ua pāpā, te wā ingaro, te kaihanga, nāna nei i tia ki ngā pia tātakatoa. Tuarua kamihi atu kia koutou, me ki ngā rangatira, ngā kai hautu o tō tātou tāone o Rotorua, tēnei te mihi mai o ha. Tua toru tēnei rā te mihi atu kia tātou katoa, tēnei te mihi atu kia te Arawa, o pāpā, o kuia karaua, whakeke, tuakana teina, tuahine, tēnei rā te mihi atu kia koutou kua tai mai, hei tautoko i tēnei whakapa whakahirehira. Kia ora rā tātai. Okay, so as Councillor Sturts mentioned, I have provided a more in-depth briefing to councillors earlier today. So what I'm going to present to you now is a summarised version of that. Okay, just want to start with these two pictures to set the scene a wee bit. The picture to the left there is from 1920 when the Prince of Wales visited Rotorua, and Arawa in its hospitality hosted that event, and what you can see there are the flags of Arawa. You'll recall there was a bit of a debate in the past about what flag should Arawa fly on Waitangi Day. The challenge was, how do we get 13 flags up the pole like that day? I've put that there, one, to take us back to the past, but also just to show the breadth and the depth of Arawa. Because whilst I'm using Arawa, that might sound like one word, there are many layers to Arawa, our iwi, our hapu, and so forth. To the right-hand side is the coat of arms of Rotorua District Council, which was formed in 1979, which I think is a great illustration of Māori, of Arawa, and Pākehā, and all of us in this community sitting together, working together for the future of our community. And the whakatauti that comes with that coat of arms is tātou tātou, we together. And that's very much what I'm here to talk to you about today on behalf of Arawa. So today, we can honour the past, we can empower the present, and strengthen our future. We believe in tātou tātou, we together. And today is a kōrero about how this could happen. So this is what I'm going to cover. I've highlighted the partnership model because I want to focus on that. However, I think it's useful to give you a little bit of background, a little bit of context before we jump into the model details itself. So, Arawa wants to work in partnership with the Rotorua Lakes Council. And there's 5 objectives that we're trying to achieve through this. One is to strengthen Arawa's partnership in our participation in the Rotorua Lakes Council's decision-making processes. Secondly, the strategic and integrated development that identifies opportunities to work together for the betterment of Rotorua. One of the things that I talked to councillors about earlier today is that there's actually a lot of commonality between council and Māori. Council has to take a long-term view. Council has to think about multiple bottom lines: economic, social, cultural, the well-being of our people. This is exactly how Māori think. As a result, there are some opportunities for us to work closer together on common opportunities and aspirations. Thirdly, build Arawa's capacity and capability to participate in decision-making processes of the Council. Fourthly, to improve communication, kōrero, and information sharing, and also to improve the Council's delivery of its obligations to Māori. And I'll talk briefly about that legislative framework and what those obligations are shortly. Just a really brief snapshot of Arawa. So 42,000 people sent from Arawa. In terms of Māori living in the Rotorua district, 23,000. Not all of those Māori are Arawa, but that's the total number. And in terms of a percentage of our total population, around about 34% of Rotorua's population is Māori. We have 35 marae throughout the district. There's 13 iwi that make up Arawa, but beneath that is 60 plus hapu. The key point I want to raise here is our contribution to the economy. Māori assets in the Rotorua district generate $387 million a year for our economy. Quite a significant amount. In addition to that, Māori freehold land currently own 50,000 hectares in the Rotorua district. Represents about 20% of the land within the district, and that's only land that's in Māori freehold title. There's a whole lot of land that we own that's in general title as individuals and also within our entities. And then finally, the 13 lakes that are currently under Arawa's ownership, and I understand later today that may become 14. just want to give a little bit of the historical background in terms of Taurawa's relationship with Council. I think it's important that we appreciate and understand that background and how we came to what we're doing today and what we're proposing today. So this really takes us back to 1880, and this is when the Fenton's Agreement was established. And within that agreement, Ngāti Whakaue, which has been mentioned in the Whaikōrero, Ngāti Whakaue gifted around 3,000 acres of land for the establishment of Rotorua. At that same time, Ngāti Whakaue were also awarded one seat on the town board. So we didn't have councils at that time, it was a town board. There were 3 representatives on the town board. One of those people were from Ngāti Whakaue, a seat from Ngāti Whakaue. So I suppose 33% representation on the town's governance. And Rotorua Lakes was the first person to sit on that town board, later followed by Hāmuera Pamo. However, Hāmuera Pamo passed away in around about 1895 or so. In the late 1800s, early 1900s, there were some changes to council structure where it moved from a town board to a county borough. In that process, Ngāti Whakaue lost its seat. I don't know the reasons why exactly, but that's a fact that we know. Since then, Taurawa, all Ngāti Whakaue haven't had a formal voice or representation within council until 1993. So in 1993, the Taurawa Standing Committee was established, and that arose out of some concerns from both council and Taurawa that the partnership wasn't very strong, that there wasn't enough good communication, engagement and consultation. So this was established to help address that issue. And at the time, it was heralded as an innovative model. It was the first standing committee in the country for Māori. So, Rotorua District Council at the time were leading the way in terms of iwi and local government partnerships. However, if we bring that forward, since about 2006, both members on the Taurawa Standing Committee and Taurawa community have raised concerns about the effectiveness of the Taurawa Standing Committee. And there have been a number of issues that we've raised in the past, and I suppose all of those things have culminated in the work that we've done over the last year and what we're proposing to today. Another point I want to raise here is the Environment Court decision against Rotorua District Council in 2012. This relates to the wastewater treatment plant at Rotorua, or what was designated for a wastewater treatment plant. Ngāti Pūkehā and Ngāti Mākino took that case to court, won that case, and as a result of that, the judge made some scathing comments about Rotorua District Council's practices in engaging Māori. Effectively, they hadn't done a good job as per the law and as per what's right in terms of consulting Māori. At that same time, he advised the council that they should be looking at their practices, and the council at the time made a public announcement that they'd undertake a cultural audit to look at all of these practices. And so I suppose this proposal that comes to you today is part of all of that process and that context. We're really trying to address some of the issues that we saw in that process and further back in history to ensure that moving forward we can have a genuine relationship that makes a difference for both parties and for this whole community. Coming forward to 2013, new mayor came in, some new councillors, a new vision was developed for Rotorua, the Rotorua 2030 vision. And within that vision, council made a commitment to a partnership with Taurawa. So again, the work that we've been doing has come from that perspective. So we were asked to go away, have the discussion with Taurawa about what a model might look like, what would work for us, and here we are today after a year-long process presenting that to you. And so a project was initiated earlier this year that had some members from council and also Taurawa Standing Committee members who have driven the process throughout the year. Just to the left-hand side there, I've got a couple of words there, changing landscape. Throughout this whole period, and at least in the last 20 years while the Standing Committee has been around, the landscape has changed quite significantly. In 1993, we didn't have treaty settlement entities. So Taurawa as a people and as entities, we've changed quite significantly over that time. In addition to that, there have been a number of new models come into play in terms of how local government and iwi can work together. And there's various models throughout the country that are new models. In this process, we looked at those various models to try and work out what made the best fit for Taurawa and for the council. So these are some of the aspirations for Taurawa in terms of developing the model. I'm not going to go into those in detail. You can see the key things there. couple of just quick points I want to make. It's really about a strengthened partnership, stronger focus, a firming iwi and hapu rangatira, strengthening the connection between this board or this body and Arawa whānui, and being an effective advocate for Arawa interests. Just in terms of the legislative framework, and obviously something that you need to consider as councillors is your legal obligations. And within Section 81 of the Local Government Act, there are some commitments that local government have to Māori. Firstly, to engage and consult with Māori. Secondly, to build the capability and capacity of Māori to contribute to decision making. And thirdly, to provide relevant information to Māori to achieve those things. In addition to that, the Resource Management Act also puts some obligations on local government, and here they are here in terms of recognising our special relationships, having regard to our role as Haitiaki, taking into account the principles of the Treaty of Waitangi, and putting mechanisms in place to give effect to all of those things. So I think again this is an important part of this conversation because we've been cognizant of this, and in the development of the model we're trying to address these things that help you to meet your obligations under the law. This is some of the value that we believe the partnership can generate for both parties and for our wider community. So one's about communication and engagement. That more information is flowing between us. An important point I want to make is around strategic and integrated development of Rotorua. Arawa has a lot of aspirations around the development of this town. We're doing a lot of things in that space, and as it happens, a lot of those things are quite similar to things that you're trying to achieve. So again, there's an opportunity here for us to be able to sit at the table, find those opportunities, and essentially accelerate the development of Rotorua. Number of other things in there, valuing diversity, culture and heritage, I believe is important. And we all know that this town certainly has a Māori flavour. You can't walk through this town without acknowledging the history of Arawa that's around you. We want that to continue. We think we can make that more powerful, as well as creating a space for the rest of our community. Just a little bit about the structure. So at the top here, we have a Arawa Stakeholder Forum. That's essentially made up of all of the stakeholders of Arawa, our various iwi, hapu, marae, our land trusts and corporations. And the role of that forum is to endorse this partnership. So the partnership is between the council and Arawa at large. Below that is a Arawa board that engages directly with council, and you can see there the 6 or so things that this board would do, and then they're supported by an executive officer. And this, we're suggesting that this structure sits independent to council, but it will feed into council through a number of ways. I'll talk about that shortly. Apologies for the community, I might be kind of rushing through this, it's because I've got limited time and the councillors have had a briefing, so sorry about that, and I'll continue on. Just in terms of partnership and accountability, so when I talk about the Arawa Stakeholder Forum, these are the various parties that make up Arawa, our various iwi hapu, our marae, our land trusts and corporations, our pan-Arawa entities, mātāwaka, and pūkinga koike. So just for those who don't know, mātāwaka is people who are not from Arawa descent but live in Rotorua, so other Māori living in Rotorua. We acknowledge that they are part of this community too, and from a Kaitiaki perspective, we have a responsibility to support and care for all those people that choose to live in our rohe. On the right hand side is the Arawa board. The accountability for this board is back to Arawa, but it's also back to the council itself. And I think that's important. One of the concerns of the standing committee in the past is that it didn't have a strong enough connection to various stakeholders in Arawa. In this model, we've tried to strengthen that connection, strengthen that accountability. There'll also be this relationship between the Arawa Stakeholder Forum and the council. Now, in terms of how we want to engage with council and its planning and policy mechanisms. So on the left-hand side here, we've got the Arawa board. We're suggesting that this board nominates 2 members or recommends 2 members to sit on the Strategy, Policy and Finance Committee and also the Operations and Monitoring Committee, and that those people have voting rights. We see that as an opportunity to contribute to the strategic thinking and the debate that shapes the future of this district. Below that is recommendation for 1 member to sit on the CEO Performance Committee. and part of that is forming a stronger relationship with the operational aspect of council. Because as we can acknowledge, there's multiple layers to council. We want to have relationships at various levels. These last two at the bottom here, one is to be able to recommend a commissioner to the district hearings committee. So whenever there's a hearing, we'd like the opportunity to be able to appoint a commissioner. There needs to be a discussion about specifically what types of hearings those are, because Arawa don't necessarily want to sit on a building consent about how high a building is and so forth. But for matters that are about natural resources, or for matters that impact our communities of interest, we would like to have some participation in that process. That's not necessarily somebody from this board sitting as a commissioner, but rather the opportunity for this board to recommend who a commissioner could be. And that may be somebody from Arawa, or it may be somebody from outside of Arawa, and it's not necessarily a Māori. It's, from our perspective, it's about somebody who understands the Māori worldview and can make a decision objectively from that perspective. Finally, we'd like to recommend Arawa Pukenga, or Arawa specialists and experts, to the various strategic working groups or the portfolio groups that Council has. So these are the various priorities that Council have, these strategic groups that debate and work out what plans should be. We want to be able to appoint specialists from Arawa to that, to contribute to that strategic thinking. Again, this isn't necessarily somebody who's on the board. One of the things with this model that we've been very clear about is that we need the right people for the job. People with the right skills to sit on these various committees and so forth. So we've got the flexibility here to appoint the relevant person from Arawa who has the right experience, expertise and background. In terms of the board itself and the board representation, we've got 14 members. This is the breakdown of the representation. A couple of things I want to note. One is we're trying to get broad representation. We're trying to capture various generations. We're also trying to capture all of our various iwi. A couple of things of note. Ngāti Whakauē have 2 seats on this board. That's in recognition of the special relationship they have in establishing this town and the historical relationship with council. All other iwi within Arawa will share 6 seats. All of these seats will be elected at large. So all of Arawa will have the opportunity to elect people onto this board. Another key point I want to make is 2 seats for rangatahi. We believe it's important that our young people are part of this board. They're the leaders of our future. We need to bring them into these conversations, have them part of the debate early on. Now, there's 2 options I'm showing you here. So this first one doesn't have Mā Tāwaka, so that's Māori that are in the district that aren't from Arawa. The second one here is an additional seat for Mā Tāwaka. So that's to give an opportunity for Māori in the district to be part of this board. We are recommending that option 1 be accepted. Our rationale here is that we do want Mā Tāwaka to be part of this board. It's only right because they're living here and we have a manaakitanga role to support them. However, we think that in the first year we need to embed this board. We've got to get clear about how we operate and so forth, and that it would make more sense to bring Mā Tāwaka in after the first year. So it's just about getting things in and Arawa getting very clear about how this works and making it effective, and then introducing Māori throughout the district into this model. Just a little bit about what we've done in terms of developing this model. It's taken us a year. We've held numerous sui with Arawa hapu, iwi and stakeholders, including our Pukenga Koike, our elders, Arawa's Lake Trust, as well as a number of hapu and iwi throughout Arawa. Been around about 300 people from Arawa attend these various hui. And you can see probably another 150, 200 here today to support this kaupapa. The cost in terms of developing this model has been around $28,000. In terms of iwi engagement, this is probably one of the quickest projects I've seen for local government, and probably one of the cheapest. But that said, I do think it's very robust. We've undertaken a lot of consultation with our people. And the other thing too is that throughout that process, this model has been refined. It's not like a few of us designed this model and that's that. We've refined it as we've gone through that process. Final slide, community consultation. Arawa believes this is a major kaupapa for both Arawa and our wider community. We feel it's only right that the Rotorua community have an opportunity to consider this proposal. So I just want to lay it on the table that we're not trying to push anything through. this is for our whole community to have this conversation. We welcome the opportunity to share this vision of partnership with our wider community. So again, I'll take us back to the beginning. I think today we can honour the past, we can empower the present, and we can strengthen our future. Arawa believes in tātou tātou, we together. I ask that you consider our proposal with an open mind and a compassionate heart, and I look forward to our future. Kia ora tātou.